Shall we start? Good afternoon, one and all present here. I, Dr. Manzoor Khan, Assistant Professor, welcomes you all. The Faculty of Law, Integral University, Lucknow, with the Association of the Indian University, under the aegis of the Human Resource Development Center, is going to conduct 1 month faculty development program on the theme of integration of intellectual property rights principles into teaching, research, and professional activities. As we are gathered here today, we are reminded of the importance of the intellectual property rights in our daily life. From the latest technological innovations to the creative works that shape our culture, IPR plays a crucial role in protecting and promoting innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. As educators, researchers, professionals, it is essential that we stay informed about the latest developments and best practices in the IPRs to ensure that our work is not only effective but also compliant with the laws and regulations that govern our activities. Today we have third session of the faculty development program, and the topic of this session is IPR and reputation enhancement of academic institutions. And to deal with this topic, we have our today's resource person is Dr. Prateek Deol sir. Dr. Prateek Deol sir is a highly qualified education professional with the convent education and a proven academic track record spanning over 11 years. He has a demonstrated history of the working as an academician with the skills in administration, legal assistance, legal research, and public speaking. Dr. Prateek sir has a distinguished academic background, completed his graduation from the Gujarat National Law University, Gujarat. Sir has done his master's, that is LLM, from the Indian Law Institute, Delhi, and also completed his research, that is PhD, from National Law University, Jodhpur. Sir is an astute professional with the 11 years of the experience in academics, research, and administration. Sir has been responsible for the development of academic programs, curricula, regulations, in addition to the preparing and delivering lectures and leading classroom discussions. Dr. Prateek sir has been actively involved in establishing the IPR Center at SRM University, Sonipat, and also served as the IPR head at GD Goenka University. Sir has organized several seminars, moot courts competitions, trial advocacy competitions, client counseling competitions, youth parliaments, faculty development programs, workshops, literary and cultural festivals. Without taking much time, I welcome to Dr. Prateek Deol sir for his insightful thoughts. Sir, I welcome you.
Thank you, Dr. Manzoor. First of all, I would like to know whether these slides are visible to you on the screen. Are you?
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, good afternoon, everyone. And before we start, I would just like to know that these are 2 continuous hours of interaction, Dr. Manzoor, or
Yes,
do we
sir.
have a break? Do we have a break
Sir,
in between?
there is no need of break. You can continue up to 2 hours or before that.
Okay. So, good afternoon, all. Thank you. I would thank you, Dr. Manzoor, for giving me the opportunity to speak with all of you, and
Thank you
it's
so
my
much.
privilege to associate with all of you. And
Welcome.
this topic that we are supposed to discuss today essentially is with respect to the IPR and the reputation of the academic institutions. This topic primarily contains 2 different aspects altogether. One being the intellectual property right, and the other being the reputation which it brings to the academic institutions. So first of all, it is pertinent for us that we understand that what does the word IPR means. Now, we all understand that IPR is covering an important part, that is property. In the traditional sense of the word property, we all understand that there will be a physical property, and we will be able to use it. We will be able to possess it the way we possess the physical or the tangible property, and it is you know it is something which can be seen. However, the difficulty or the catch with respect to the intellectual property is that this property stands as an intangible or invisible, we can say, in a way, a property, right? Of course, people get patents and copyright protection and etc. So you will say it is not invisible, but yeah, it is intangible to a very large extent. So what happens is that when one is developing the intellectual property, one expects that one is able to get the protection for the same. The way we expect the protection for our physical property, similarly, one also expects the protection for the intellectual property. So, what is the if we have to understand it very simply, then what is the meaning of the intellectual property? It is the property which is developed out of the application of one's intellect. So, if I have applied my intelligence to develop something, and something is born out of it as a product of the same, then that is what is called as the intellectual property, right? Now, simply by investing of mind, the property is not developed. I need to add something to it to convert it into a property. And for that, what I need to do is I need to invest my time, my energy, my resources, most importantly, to develop a property. And since I have to invest all of this, I do not have a choice. I will have to invest all of this. And once that is being done by me, I am developing an intellectual property. So, what I want is, first is protection. The second one, which I'm essentially looking forward, is the promotion of the same. Nobody wants that there should not be valuation of their property. Everybody wants that the valuation of the property should go high and high and high. Similarly, when one invests the time, money, and energy into developing an intellectual property, they want that there should be protection of the investment and the promotion of the investments which they have done. Therefore, we can also call it as investment protection rights, right? This is very, very crucial with respect to the intellectual property. So the third thing which exists with respect to the property is that we have to develop a property which is not so tangible, right? For example, if you are writing a book out of one's intellect, right, it is intangible in nature. Nobody can see the intellect, yet it is deployed to develop a property, right? So what we see is that it is an intangible property right also. We can have the properties, we can have the copyright protection, patent protection, trademark protection, GI protection, etc., and still we can solicit the so we can still solicit the protection, and that is what is called as intangible property right, because we are trying to claim the ownership of of something which is not seen, and therefore it is called as intangible property rights. Am I making sense to all of you? Am I being heard? Do I have people with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are here, sir.
Okay, thank you. So the natural requirement is, thank you, Dr. Manzoor. So the natural requirement is that you cannot protect the intellectual property in the way conventionally and conventionally a property is protected. For example, if you have a physical property or a tangible property, you can go to that particular property and you can you know stop somebody from trespassing into your property, because you come to know that there is somebody who is violating your rights. So you can go to the police station, report about the same, and take an action against that person. But the problem with the intellectual property right is that people use the property so smartly or they use it in such a distant location that it is very tough to identify that who is violating my rights and where are my rights getting violated. So I don't know. So naturally, the requirement is that the law has to address this issue in an absolutely different way, right? The law has to be more technology friendly and has to be broader in its application and strength, right? So what is done is that now, because the law has to orient itself according to the requirements of intellectual property, so naturally the concept of IP is not protected in the conventional way. We will unfold the discussion further, because we are on to the topic which essentially covers with respect to your IP, right? So I'm first inaugurating the subject by understanding the meaning of the term intellectual property, correct? So we are understanding that what happens through the IPR, Mirko, what is the benefit which I get as an individual or as an institution? It is protecting my hard work, right? It is now it is understood by people in the world at large that all the efforts need not be done in a physical way. If somebody is investing the mind, then that's also the way of doing hard work, or it's like putting in the labor. So naturally the law has started respecting such individuals also, which are critically involved in the development of technology, and therefore the law intends to protect not only the investment in terms of time, energy and resources. It wants that the people should be encouraged for creating and protecting the IPR, right? You should not only just create and forget, right? You should also be very careful that nobody violates your intellectual property. That is also your job. To If you have a property in the world, it is your responsibility to safeguard your property, correct? Similarly, if you have developed an intellectual property, it is your responsibility to that you protect your intellectual property, correct? So we have to understand that intellectual property is crucial for us to hold. That is why that is why the intellectual property is so sensitive, correct? And the areas in which the IPR is now given has been broadly taken care of, or it has been very extensively summoned into different areas, correct? So what happens is that we will understand in the next slide itself, wherein we see that how the IPR is accorded in different in different areas. IPR is accorded in different areas, like these are the forms of IPR which we see nowadays coming in front of us, right? The one is called as the Patents Act. Now the first uh, first form of intellectual property which is given to a developer of intellectual property is the patents itself. Now what does the patent do? Patent essentially protects the innovation, right? It uh, it is supposed to ensure that if there is any scientific or technological advancement, then that is protected by this particular law, right? So the patents is for developing either a product or a process, right? If either a product or a process is developed which has scientific or technological advancement, then that particular product or process is protected under the Patents Act of 1970, right? So now the next important law with respect to the intellectual property is your Copyright Act. Now, Copyright Act of 1957 provides you the protection called as the copyright. Just a second. Hmm. So, what do they give? They give copyright protection in into which areas? In areas like literary works, dramatics, musical, artistic, cinematograph film, sound recording. There are broadcasting rights, moral rights, neighboring rights, reproduction rights, etc., which are recognized under the copyright law. And it is, you can say, it is by far one of the most broad form of intellectual property, because it accords protection in multiple streams, in various areas it gives protection, right? Since we have identified the list of things so far, so we understand that who all can get the protection. Anyone who is doing a literary work, anyone who is doing dramatics, music, art, film, sound recording, broadcasting, or is involved into reproduction, or is doing any cinematograph film, etc. So these are the broad areas in which the copyright is accorded. And copyright is given for the term of lifetime of the author and 60 years thereby, and patents is accorded for a term of 20 years under the patents law. Now, the next critical form of IPR which is given is your geographical indications. Now, for example, it will be easy for us to relate through examples, right? Now, the first example we can understand is, for example, Bikaneri Bhujia. It is understood when we hear the word Bikaneri Bhujia, we understand that this Bhujia is coming from the district Bikaner of the state of Rajasthan, right? So, geographical indication means it's an indication about a particular geographical location. It tells that from where this particular good is coming from, right? So I don't need to then further describe it to anyone that where is my good coming up from. If I have been able to explain that it is coming, its name is Bikaneri Bhujia, then fine, it is amply understood by the consumer that it is coming from the district Bikaner of the state of Rajasthan. Or for example, champagne. I don't need to tell people that champagne is coming from France, right? If I say Darjeeling tea, then I don't need to tell people where it is coming from. It is obvious that it is coming from Darjeeling. So geographical indication essentially protects the goods which are coming up from a particular geographical location. And that is why in the year 1999, a separate statute was enacted which was supposed to do two major functions. What were the two major functions? Registration of GIs, and second is the protection of GIs. This is what this particular law is supposed to take care of. So what they did was that the geographical indication gave protection only to goods. Please take care of this particular fact. Inventions are protected under the patents. Copyright protects the expression of ideas. Geographical indication protects the goods coming from a particular geography. This is the mandate of the geographical indication law. Now, the next important law which we have to discuss with respect to the intellectual property is the Trademarks Act. Now, what is the Trademarks Act supposed to do? The Trademarks Act is supposed to protect the goods and services both, and it doesn't restrict itself to the particular geographical location. Please understand the distinction between the trademark and the geographical indication. That is the exact distinction. That one takes care of a particular location, the other one doesn't. That is what is making the distinction between the uh, geographical indications and trademarks law. Because otherwise, if they both are same, then there is no need of enacting two different legislations, right? So I would build up a small background here, right? What is the background here? The background here is that prior to this particular law, what happened was that both the trademark and the geographical indications were clubbed together, were seen in one go, right? However, when the TRIPS, trade related aspects of intellectual property rights, I am sending the name in the chat box. I assume you can see everything, right? So what happens is that the TRIPS was enacted in this particular was brought into force. I'm sorry, was brought into force in this particular year, and as a result of which, what happened was the countries were divided into three categories. First, were called as the developing countries. Sorry, the first one were called as developed countries. I'm sorry. The second ones were called as the developing countries, and the third one ones were called as the least developed countries. These were the three broad jurisdictions in which they were divided into. Now, the developed countries were expected to incorporate the TRIPS ASAP. As soon as the TRIPS came into force, the countries had to be TRIPS compliant. They had to ensure that their laws are in conformity with the TRIPS standards. Whereas the developing countries like India were given a time span of 10 years to become TRIPS compliant, which meant that they have to change their laws, the IP laws, as per the TRIPS standards within a span of 10 years from 1996. That means the privilege was available to the Indian government or the Indian jurisdiction till 2005. So that is why we see that in the year 1999, if we see GI Act or Trademark Act or Plant Variety Law or the Semiconductors or the Biodiversity or Designs Act, you see the timeline. Every intellectual property law was restructured or was drafted between 1996 till 2005, barring the Copyright Act of 1957 and the Patents Act of 1970. All the major statutory regulations with respect to the various forms of intellectual property were created during this span of 10 years. And we see that the trademark and the geographical indications were separated during this particular time itself. So prior to this separate enactment of trademarks law and the GI law, we see that the laws were covered under the Trade and Merchandise Act of 1958. I'm not going to talk about that much at this particular moment. I'm just introducing the various forms of IP with a bit of their meaning and a bit of their backdrop. That is why I'm restricting the conversation with respect to this particular aspect. Now, the next major form of IPR is your plant varieties and farmers' rights. Now, we saw that the farmers are the ones who are developing new varieties of or breeds of plants, trees, and vines, but they do not have any protection, legal protection, nor are they able to derive any financial benefit out of the same. So, what they did was they understood. They understood that we need to do, the lawmakers understood that we need to do something with respect to protecting the interests of the farmers. So what they did was they gave them a very special privilege under this particular law, that if you have been able to develop a new variety of a plant or a tree or a vine, in either of the cases you are entitled to rights, intellectual property rights. And there were three broad categories of peoples who were recognized under three broad categories of people, I'm sorry, who were recognized under the Farmers' Rights Act, Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act. That is breeders, farmers, and researchers. These were the three broad categories of people who were recognized, right? And this was enacted in the year 2001. And the next major category of the intellectual property right is the biodiversity law. Now, this recognized the protection to the flora and fauna both. Now, a question can come up in our minds that what is the need of incorporating a separate law on the biodiversity when we have the environmental protection laws in the country? What is the need? Because they are covered there. Now, please understand that it is not just the flora and fauna. We are more concerned about them as a genetic structure, and we want to see that how useful they are in terms of being a resource, because people were found taking the samples of species of plants, soil, and animals across the borders for their further studies, because they wanted to see that how useful they are as a specimen, and therefore they wanted to take them abroad. It has happened in the uh, in the Bengaluru jurisdiction, that there were people who were in Indian soils for some research purposes, and they wanted to take to a particular jurisdiction, and they were caught by the regulatory authorities. But they were carrying some samples of species of plants and sand. And they said, "Sir, what's wrong in it? We're just carrying them, that's all." But they were found absolutely in contravention to the biodiversity law. And that's what we intend to protect, the various species of flora and fauna and their adaptability to the Indian system, Indian ecosystem. Correct? And the next law, which is very, very crucial, is with respect to your Integrated Circuits and Layout Designs Act. Now, we all know that wherein this integrated circuits and are being used, they are essentially the part of your electronic gadgets which you use on a day-to-day basis in almost every aspect of our lives. We are using them. So it is critical that they are protected, no? So the government had to take the protection of these particular things, and that is why the law with respect to these integrated circuits and layout designs were discussed, right? That is why the law had to be enacted, and they gave protection to these particular systems. The another major part of intellectual property is your designs law itself. Now, designs are again applied to whom? They are applied to the goods. I'll just pick up a small example that what is designs. For example, when we buy a product and the decision of buying the product is dependent upon the fact that how it looks. If the decision is dependent on this factor, that how the product looks like to me, then the the law which is applicable to that particular good is called as designs law. I will just pick up a small example to convey that what I'm trying to discuss. For example, when we buy an apparel or a textile product, we wear it out and we check that how does that look on me. If it passes the test of my eyes, then the product is purchased. If it doesn't, then I don't buy. So what happens is that designs law protects these particular designs which are applied on goods. There is one major form of IPR which I have not mentioned here, is traditional knowledge. Why have I not mentioned? Because there is no statute which governs uh, uh, there is no statute which governs the traditional knowledge. Dr. Manzoor, is it the time to take the questions at this moment? I have Ms. Suhaila Tawheed who wants to ask a question. Is it the good time to take the questions?
Yes, sir. We are taking questions.
Okay. I would like to answer Ms. Suhaila, if you are listening to me. The academic
Yes,
institution, okay, thank you. Academic institutions are supposed to invest in their faculties, right? If they are having any research projects, and and I see that especially the university with which whom I'm talking at this moment has accreditation from NAC. It's a plus university, so it can't happen that in such strong, academically strong places there will be no support system for protecting the and promoting the intellectual property. And it's in your own interest that, and it's in the interest of the institutions also, that they take up such research projects, because it brings laurels not only to the persons who are involved into the project, it plays a very critical role for the institutions also when they are going for accreditations, affiliations, and rankings. So they are supposed to, and they should, and they, if they are not, then that's their own loss. Then they need to be told that what are they missing upon, because it's not the rote learning which is going to make any success any which ways. If we see any primary any prominent, I'm sorry, any prominent university in the world, in any of the jurisdictions, we would find that they have a very strong focus on the creation, protection, and promotion of the intellectual property rights. So, if any institution who wants to continue growing, then they have no choice but to foster the intellectual property rights. Yeah, right. I hope I have answered your question, Ms. Suhela. Right? Do I answer your question? Okay. Uh, okay. Another question which has come up is from Mr. Kasif Faridi. He says, how can institution measure the impact of their IP activities on their overall reputation? It is clear, my dear Kasib, that if the institution is showing that it has patents, it has copyright protections, then that's a very clear way of branding themselves into the world at large that they are focusing upon the intellectual property right. If you look at any universities, be it the central, be it the state, or be it the private universities, they boast, they share that information in their admission brochures on their websites, on to the people who come, that we have so many patents, we have got so many copyright protections, design protections. They mention all of this. So they have a very strong impact on the reputation of the institution, that yes, they are interested in protecting and promoting the intellectual property right. It is a foolish decision if the institution is neglecting this particular bent of mind. This will work exactly in their favor if they are not able to capture the moment, or they are not able to capture the opportunity. It is an absolute miss. It's a loss which happens to the institution. It has this impact on reputation is what I'm going to discuss in my further presentation as well. So now that first thing, as your question also is, that how does that impact the reputation of the academic institutions? Now this protection, if it is accorded, this answers the questions of both Suhela and Kasib together, that if they are focusing on the promotion and protection of the intellectual property rights, then the persons who are involved into such type of work will feel absolutely safe, and safe in terms of recognition and protection of their rights. They will understand that their rights are being protected by the institution. Nobody goes unrecognized. Please understand, the best part about the intellectual property right is that everybody will have their share of pie. Nobody can eat anyone's pie and say that the other person has done nothing. This way it doesn't work. So naturally they will have their controls. So it is better that, it is better that we work in collaboration and share the pie, instead of thinking that I alone will be able to crack the deal. It's always better that you go for, collaboration, and it protects the rights of everyone who is involved. You look into any Scopus Index journals or any reputed journals, you will find that the people have come into collaboration, and that is how their papers are being considered. Very few individual authors, are able to do that kind of an impact generation. Even if we look at the patents, there are so many people who file application as co-inventors. So it's not one man's job. It's not possible, and it's not desirable also. Why to unnecessarily stretch yourself? It is better, no, that we work together and protect the rights of each other and give everyone their share. So naturally, the protection of rights is seen as a positive factor. When somebody is interested in going to an institution, he or she will feel that if I work hard, if I am able to come out with some results, then I will be recognized and I will be legally safe in terms of my rights and privileges. I don't need to fight for them. Please understand that why will one invest into a place if the place doesn't have anything to offer? But if the place is offering, why will not one invest himself and his or her resources? They will invest. So we generally miss out this as a critical point, but this is how it should be seen in reality. Now, the next important contribution which comes if we connect the academic institutions to the IPR is that everybody will understand that this place has very high ethical standards. I will tell you, if you will apply for masters in law or any other field in the world in any reputed institution, you will find that they say that the work should not be plagiarized. Even in India, nowadays, when we are submitting our doctoral thesis, the UGC has set the benchmark that the plagiarism content should be less than 10%. However, we do the misuse by using the technology available to us, but we all have to ensure that the genuine research is being undertaken. If this is what happens, if the genuine research happens, if it is protected, the rights are protected, then it sets a very high benchmark of ethical standards. And these are not just unenforceable ethical standards, then they become enforceable ethical standards. You know, please understand that we should not be under the impression that cheating is a matter of right or it's a privilege that we enjoy. It's nothing to boast of. There's nothing to boast of that. Similarly, when we are giving protection to the intellectual properties, right, it sets a very high ethically enforceable standards that what you have done is right or what you have done is wrong. It should be there to me to say, I should have the right to say that what happened is right and or what happened is wrong. If I do not have even that right, then there is no point. How will I bring the repute to my academic institution? For that, I will have to give that kind of democracy, right? Now, if I have, if I as an institution respect the intellectual property, then it is easy for me to get the fundings. As some of you have shown interest in getting the projects, then they will see, the sponsors, the funders will see that yes, the institution has a bent of mind which promotes research. So they will invest into that institution. They will invest into the person who has made the application. And they will give privileges to them. They will do it. That is not a problem. So we should also look forward to such ways that we give protection so that it becomes easy for us to operate. Please understand that tomorrow you may not have the funds to execute your ideas. Then where will you get the money from? You will need somebody who will fund your projects. So it is important that when I develop an intellectual property, I duly give the pie of cake to everyone, so that there is a word of mouth that no, this place doesn't cheat anyone. So it will become easy for the institutions, academic institutions also to get the funding, because when we go for any events also or recruitments of the students, when our students are becoming alumni, we all are looking for their placements. So these things then spread out as by way of word of mouth. So our own students will tell the people, the outside world, that no, this is a good place which gives recognition to the people who work hard. Naturally, this will attract people to give funds to the institutions. So it will be easy for them to operate in terms of projects or research initiatives or any other policy driven actions. And it will also attract investments. People will be interested in making investments because they know that this particular academic institution will bring out some qualitative results. In India, the issue is not of quantity. In India, the issue is of quality. If you are able to come out with a qualitative product, people will run after that, right? I keep giving this example to my students also in my current employment. You know what Lenskart has done? Can you even imagine that a business as ordinary as an optic store, a business as ordinary as optic store has been converted into a business of more than 35,000 crores? That is the beauty of understanding that if we give the protection and if we use the technology, it will become this easy to do business. Universities should start looking into proper commercializations of the intellectual property. It will bring them royalties, it will bring them an extra source of income. Why people look for government job? Because they want to ensure that in old age, when they are not able to work, somebody gives them money for free without working, because they have worked earlier, so they now should be rewarded. Similarly, if we work now with the intellectual property, it is going to reward us later. That's how we have to see. It's an investment. And charities also, if the well-wishers of the society see that this particular institution is a very respected institution in the circle, then people will naturally come and associate, will try to establish the relationship with that kind of an academic institution. They will see that yes, this institution is different. This institution focuses upon the bright minds, it nourishes them, it protects their work, and gives them their dues also. So naturally, people around you will also try to establish the relationship with you as an academic institution. There is no loss for me. I should then straight away focus on to the fact that I am uh, giving protection to the intellectual property builders, the ones who are building the intellectual property. I should not be hesitant. And it protects the moral rights. That we should never forget that gratitude is the attitude. The ones who have developed the intellectual property should be given their dues at all the times. This moral rights specifically comes in the context of copyright. Right now, let us assume that I have sold my copyright right to you, and I am now presenting the work in a distorted or in a mutilated form, or I say that I am the original author of the work. Then the copyright law permits the person who has sold the rights to the next person to claim the moral rights. Imagine the beauty of law, that I have sold my rights to you. I have sold my copyright rights to you. It's like saying that I have sold my house to you. But in the physical property, I cannot claim any privilege once the house is sold. But in the intellectual property, under the copyright law, even if I have sold out my copyright right to you, I can still claim the protection, saying it's my moral right. The person who has purchased my property is wrongly presenting my work, is mutilating or distorting my work, or is wrongly saying that it is his or her work. Imagine, this is the extent to which the intellectual property is giving recognition to its workers. So if we have such a law in our hands as a favorable tool to operate, why not to act as a facilitator as an academic institution? And it brings accolades to the institutions that yes, they are a very good place to go to study and to work in all senses, right? So naturally, they will also be able to bring the fact onto the table. They can actually say it, that we respect the innovators or the creators. We give recognition to them. It will be it will be seen as a parameter of honor in the eyes of all the people, all the stakeholders, that yes, this institution gives tremendous focus and protection onto the innovators and the creators. And as I mentioned few minutes ago, IPR doesn't mean that I hold a patent certificate and I paste it in my bedroom or in my office, that I am a patentee. No, it doesn't work like that. I am going to give my patent on license to somebody, so that somebody can make the commercial utilization of the same, so that it is sold on to the public at large. Public also derives benefit out of my work. And when the money is being made, I being the inventee, also gets the benefits out of the same. So it's a win-win situation for everyone, no? So it's a win-win situation for everyone. So naturally, what will happen is that people will come to the institutions and will see that, sir, what is there for you to offer. I know the brands in the educational institutions who are doing the licensing of their intellectual property. They are making money out of the same. That is also their additional source of revenue. I won't like to name them here, but yeah, there are institutions, and there is nothing wrong about it. They are doing good work. So people are getting into collaboration with them. They are taking their intellectual property on license. They are giving money to them as royalties. So it's full commercialization of the IPR. What's wrong in it? Because we took resources and time from the public itself. So we should develop something, we should come out with something which helps the public at large. If it does, it is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong about it, right? So this commercialization part is also there. And then it sees that, yes, we are not just the paper IP protection holders. No, we are able to bring the IP to the society. And then people look up to such organizations, right? For example, in the COVID times also, it was the academic institutions which came out with the solutions of the pandemic. Can you believe that? We may have forgotten that, or we may not remember that so strongly, right? The world famous vaccines of COVID came out from what? Came out from academic institutions, my dear. And imagine what massive level of consumption happened of that particular vaccine. Not just in London, it happened in, not just in England, it happened all over the world. And what kind of recognition, reputation it brought to the institution, that my goodness, this institution has the capacity to deliver the results on the global pandemic with which the world is struggling, or the world was struggling. This is the kind of honor, reputation which IPR brings to the academic institutions. So it is important for us that we focus on IPR. And as I just now gave the example of the of the vaccine, does it not promote the progress and peace in the society? It stabilized. Introduction of vaccine stabilized the destability which was brought on to by the pandemic. This is what is the contribution of the intellectual property. It promotes the progress in the society. So we should be able to think in a positive perspective that what it does to us. Generally, if somebody comes to us with an idea, we may say, no, thank you, it's okay, yeah, very good. But we should be able to see the things in the proper perspective, that yes, how is it contributing? The next important part is that it will further incentivize the research itself. That people will understand that yes, this is the place where research is focused, and if I go there, I will be given the incentives. So it should not be there as an obstruction in our mind. Oh, he or she wants to just sit and do nothing. Research is seen like that. Oh, so you are doing research, which means you are doing nothing. You're just sitting idle and consuming the resources of the nation for free. No. Research is supposed to come out with results that are useful for the public at large, results that solve the problems of millions of people. As they say in the business world, if you solve the problems of a million people, you become a millionaire. If you solve the problems of billions of people, you become a billionaire. It is very simple. So similarly, if I am developing the research, then naturally I will further incentivize the research because I know the advantages of research. I need to understand first as an academic institution then what is in it for me. See, please understand that all of us do the action only when we see that what is in it for me, correct? Only then we will do it. So when we see that IPR is getting me this benefit, then why will I not do the actions? Why will I not do it? So naturally, it's like it automatically will attract and protect and promote the research. It will further incentivize the research. That's what is seen as a positive point. As if for once we did the development in 200 years ago. No, you have to constantly, consistently, you have to work hard to develop something which solves the problems of the societies. Correct? This is what is required. I was Today itself, watching a wonderful documentary which talks about the lost steam engines. Correct. This is specifically documented in the in the this is documented with respect to Canada, and this is British Columbia part of the Canadian jurisdiction. The documentary is titled as Locomotive Number 3512, and it is called as the sunken train. And this particular sunken train was found 1,000 feet below the level of lake, 1,000 feet deep, and it sank in 1947. The train was sunk in 1947, and it was found in 2020, just 4 years back. Now, what when it was recovered, what were the local people saying? That we are astonished that the technology has advanced so much that something which was a fairy tale, everybody said that you will not be able to recover the locomotive, or it was an ill-fated um steam engine, etc., etc. But the technology has gone so strong that people did not dive 1,000 feet deep. It was a machine which went with a camera, with just a wire attached to it, and people were having digital reproduction on the screen. They could trace a train which was a mammoth-sized steam engine which just sank inside the Slacken Lake. So what a wonderful beauty we see, that yes, the technology brings a lot onto the table. So why not then invest into it? It is critical for us. If we say that we are educated, if we say that we are a very good place, etc., then we should then behave like that. We have to behave like that. So we have to incentivize the research. That is what is important, because people see that yes, this institution is further incentivizing the research. Correct. So this is what we see when we come to the when we come to the intellectual property. We understand the importance of the importance of the intellectual property. And when what will happen is that if you will start developing the technology, no, the people will also start developing. uh, Jealousy, envy, competition makes the people around you also to work very hard. So if you as an academic institution give promotion and protection to IP, what will happen is they will say, oh, if they can do, why can't I do? So naturally, people will also work on it. No, that is why it is said that you should focus upon intellectual property, and it's a positive. It is to be seen in a positive spirit. It should not be seen that this is driven out of jealousy. Since I did, so they are doing. Arey Baba, it is okay even if it is out of jealousy, and since you did, so they are doing. That is also all right. But at least now they are trying. Earlier they were not even trying. No, this is what has to be seen. As I was mentioning, it was in the Slocan Hills, Slocan, Slocan Hills. The name is popularly called as Slocan. It is in the British Columbia. You can search it on the internet as well. So naturally, the people did accept and gave accolades to the technology which was available. So it will motivate the other academic institutions also to come out with new technology. That yes, we want to do something with respect to this particular direction, right? And we also see that what will happen is that people who have a similar bent of mind will like to have a collaboration with you as an institution. Industry will come to you, innovators will come to you, and universities will also come to you to collaborate. I would just like to give a small example of the Chandrayaan mission which India was able to execute prior to the Lok Sabha elections. Now, post the Indian Space Research Organization was able to successfully land the Chandrayaan mission on the southern pole of Moon. India India's space research got international accolades. Be it NASA, be it any other space agency of the world, all of them are now interested in coming into collaboration with the Indian Space Research Organization. How could they do it? Because ISRO focused on technology, and technology is protected in under the patents law, and this is what is called as IPR. So if you, as an academic institution, come out with something which is a cutting edge technology, will the world not like to have you on the table as a university or as an industry or as an innovator? Why will they not like to have you? Everybody would want that, yes, they should be on the table because they will bring on to the table something. As we say it in the business line, no, what are you bringing on to the table? So they will see that what is your contribution. If you are contributing, you will have a say. If you don't contribute, you don't have a say. It is very plain and simple. So we should not feel bad if we are not doing good in the world, or if we are not doing, we think that we are very good. We should shine in the world, but nobody is turning to me because we are actually doing nothing to be seen. I'm sorry to say if it is hurting anyone, but we have to do something which brings us to the limelight. That is what IPR does. We have to do something worth, right? Now, we can say, sir, what will we do? We are just an academic institution. We have to take classes. We have to, we have to do many other things. We have to do documentations, organize programs, internships, and, placements, examinations, etc. Well, what can we do? It is important that universities do actual research. Just a second. So universities do actual research also. For example, Oxford did during the pandemic. It was a groundbreaking research, right? They did it. So this is what was done in a university. It is research is done by humans who walk on planet. So universities are also on to the planet. So why not the researches can happen in them? They are the best infrastructure for that. For example, my current employment itself has a full-fledged laboratory. My goodness, they are providing such strong support to the society, and they come out with such a strong patent systems in the university as an institution, because the universities are expected to do that. That's the place of creativity. That's the place of intellectual capacity building. That's the role of academia in the making of IPR. If we kill the thinking minds, then we are just producing rot learners. That's all. Who will forget everything after the exams are over, because it was just for one night that they had to mug it up and vomit it out during the examinations. And once that job is done, now there is no relevance. But if they will develop something, if they will come out with a product or a process, they will not forget it for their life. And that is education. That is education. We do not just want literates. Time for India has changed. We should not be focusing just on literacy. We should now be focusing on education. That have we been able to give the real-time learning to the students or not? And learning is not just for students, it is for faculties as well. So it is important that we keep this particular background in our mind, that university is the place where thinking can be done, where research can be done, something extraordinary can be brought out. This is what the academia, you being the faculties or you being the students, can do. You includes myself. We being the students and faculties can do it. That is why collaboration between the students, faculties, and different universities is very, very crucial. As I said a few minutes back, nobody can be the sole possessor of the entire idea. You may have one part of the idea with you. I may have the second part of idea with me. Somebody else has the third part. If all come together, it will become the full-fledged idea, which can be developed. So this is what the groundbreaking research can be done within the academic institutions, right? Because you have the capacity, you have the free time, you have the luxury of time to think, to contribute as an academia. This is what you can do to the IPR. So use this time. If you have some time, generally People come to the teaching lines. When you will say that I'm a teacher, people will say, oh acha, then you have a lot of time in life, you are very free, you can attend your family, attend society, etc., etc. This is what people will say. Attend all of that, that is also fine, but give some time to the intellectual capacity building as well. Do some research in your areas, whichever field it is. It is not necessary that it is just sciences. It can be technology, it can be journalism, it can be communications, it can be, it can be languages as well, it can be literature also. Do something which is able to come out with a product which is providing a very strong remedy to the people in the world at large, right? And what happens is, you will see, if you are a faculty specifically, that if you are involved into research, you will be called as a research faculty. Many institutions recruit such persons. They are saying that they are research faculties. All that they have to do in a year is to just publish, let us say, 5 Scopus Index journal papers. They don't have to do anything else. They are exclusively recruited, they are exclusively kept for doing research. That is what is done to the persons who are involved into research. They are given the freedom. They don't need to do punch in punch out as most of us would do, being a student or being a faculty or being an employee. No, they don't need to run for that, but they have to work hard to ensure that they actually come out with something, not just saying that I'm doing research or I'm doing research. No, they have to do the research. They have to show after one year's time that this is what I have done in terms of research, right? Then the persons are given the academic freedom. Even we see in good academic institutions, the persons who work, if they are able to prove to their seniors that, sir, I am involved into this research, they are given a free hand in terms of relaxation of class hours, etc. They are given a free hand. There's no problem. So this is what academia can do. This is what universities can do. Don't feel helpless. Oh, I am not a laboratory. I am not a think tank. I am not a research center. How can I do all of this? No, this is possible. This is to be done. This can be done by the academic institutions. It is a permissible set of action. And what will happen because of that is, if you do that, then you will be also able to publish the work for the benefit of the public. Let us assume for a moment that you could do nothing. Actually, nothing could happen because you had no funds, you had no time, no support was given to you. At least you can write it down somewhere, publish it so that somebody can further develop the idea. At least this is what you can do. If you will do that, then naturally somebody else will get the platform made by you, which can be further developed, or somebody can use it in a more commercial way if you have a product in your hands. So don't withhold. We have a typical kiddish mentality now, that when we make notes, we don't want to share with anyone. Right? Generally this is what we do, that I have made the notes, now I will not share it with anyone, right? No, don't keep that mindset in terms of intellectual property, because that's going to hurt you the most, being the developer of intellectual property. It is better that you share with everyone. More the stakeholders, more the benefit for all of you. Okay. Uh, I assume it's Ms. Zoya is asking, how can the institutions assess and address potential reputational risks associated with their IP activities? If you will do copy paste of somebody else's work, people are not going to spare you. If you steal someone's work without giving due recognition and share of royalties, you will have nightmares. Don't think that you will, as I said in the introductory part of our discussion, don't think that you will cheat and get rid of it. It doesn't work like that. People have developed the intellectual property, they have brains, they will catch hold of you. So it is very important. It's a caveat. Very good, Zoya. It's a caveat that please ensure that work is genuine and original. Don't be in a haste Don't be in the rat race that I have to come out with something. I have to come out with something. Come out with something which is sensible as an innovation. It should be a real time innovation, a path breaking innovation, as we were saying. If this doesn't happen, it doesn't work like that, because then you will be simply defamed. So one has to be very careful that my ideas are not just copy paste, right? Don't do that, because then you will lose your own reputation as a researcher, and your institution will also lose the reputation as a research organization. So don't do that. That's what is very, very important factor to be taken care of by any institution which does innovation. I hope your question is answered, Zoya. Right now, now if we allow the students to be involved into intellectual property, then what will happen is that they will have the information and the skill. They would know that what is IPR, what are the various forms of IPR, what are the laws which governs the different sets of IPRs, what is their duration of protection, what is their advantage, how are they distinct from each other, right? What is their relevance in the academic institutions? They will get the information, and they will also know the skills that if somebody is manipulating or maneuvering my intellectual property, then I will be taking that person to the court. So naturally I can handle the complex IP issues as well. If there are any important IP issues with respect to the intellectual property, then I can handle all of that. I will take the people to the court, I will seek the remedies, I will get the compensation, or I will get the interlocutory or interim injunctions against that person who's violating my rights. And students will be promoted and encouraged to do the innovation. Otherwise, what they will do is they will simply learn, vomit it out, and forget it for their lives. That's all that will happen. There will be no learning. This will be just mugging it up, as we say. They will mug and vomit. So this is very, very important that the academic institutions use this particular course to ensure that they are able to pass on not just the information, but also the skill to handle the intellectual properties. Right? Now, what happens is you can say, "मुझे क्या मिलता है as an academic institution? What are my, what are my benefits?" If you support the researchers in your organization and the innovators, if they get any type of a protection in the institution, then naturally I can also be a part of the patents. I can also be part of the copyright. I can also be part of the trademark or any other innovation which has been done so far. One second. If I am part of any of this, then I can definitely claim protection. That, sir, I was also a part as an institution. I have supported this researcher. Please include my name, and my rights are violated. So I am also entitled for compensation. This is privilege given to the academic institutions as well. This is anyone who is a part of the intellectual property is entitled for the protection. It's not that only the living, the actual innovator is. All those who are a part of innovation are given the protection. So this is possible if I have the intellectual property with me. Correct? What other part can be done by the academic institutions? They can help taking the innovation from lab to the market. Institutions are institutions. Institution brings its strength with itself. It brings its strength with itself. So universities then can take that, sir, this is what I have developed in my lab. Please take it to the market. It is useful for the public at large. If the commercial entity is satisfied that yes, if there can be a business with respect to the same, then they will take the business ahead. For example, who would have had ever thought that the tube lights will be replaced by LEDs? They will give more illumination, with less power consumption, more durability, smart look, less maintenance, more guarantee that it will work for a longer time. Imagine the function remains the same. The conventional tube light also gives the illumination, the LED light also gives the illumination. But the way this particular the facility has been developed, the technology has been developed, is an extraordinary development. If you are able to come out with something like this, and I've just picked up a small example to highlight that what can be done. If this is what can be done by you, then you can bring the innovation from your university lab to the market and make millions of dollars out of the same. As we said in the introductory part, it's basically investment protection rights or innovation promotion rights. So I have to do that, no? So if as an institution I have to be smart enough that I can take all of this to the world at large. This is what I have to do, right? And if I incorporate the syllabus of the intellectual property in my curricula, then naturally what will happen is it will promote, safeguard, and encourage innovation. These young lawyers will be very sensitive that there is no exploitation of their intellectual property. Please be very careful. India has sufficiently neglected the capacity of intellectual properties. We should not do that mistake as current generation. It is our responsibility that nobody takes the advantage of our intellect without our prior permission and full recognition. It's the responsibility of the institution also. So it is very important as an institution. We can do this in the making of IPR. If we sensitize the current generation that you take care of these factors, and if one of them, even if one of the students of our universities come out with innovation and then they remember that this is what was taught to us in our classes, that we have to take care of the IP protection, then please understand you have done your role as an academic institution in the protection of IPR. They will forever be grateful to you that, oh, because I was taught all of this at my university, so now I am able to take the advantage. That brings the reputation to you as an academic institution. Oh, this institution has a very strong IPR course. Yeah, we should go and register ourselves in that particular institution. You may not be able to come out with the uh, IP products or processes. Maybe you are not able to come out, but if you produce strong IP lawyers, they will recognize you. They will come back to you and say thank you for giving us the knowledge. I can personally give an example. This has happened with me once. One of my students, while the student was studying the undergraduate course of law, that candidate was not much serious. But when the same candidate sat for the common law aptitude test for the post graduation entrance examination, the candidate came back to me, that student came back to me and told, "Sir, thank you. Whatever you taught us in the class was exactly asked to us in the examination." Right? This is what we can do. We have the capacity to guide the future. An academic institution can do this. So, who says we don't have an additional hand or an upper advantage? We should take that opportunity, correct? Now, what are the advantages of having the IPR as an academic institutions? The first and the foremost advantage which I get as an institution is that I will be able to bring the reputation to my institution that yes, this is a research driven university or a research centric university or a technology friendly university or intellectual property development is the focus of this particular university. So this works in my favor as an academic institution. So why should I not take full advantage or full encashment of being such an academic institution? Correct? And don't miss on this as an opportunity. I'm telling you, you look at any developed economy in the world, my dear, any developed economy in this world, you will find that all of them have a very strong IP system. Anyone which doesn't focus on the intellectual property cannot continue to be the developed economy of the world. Anyone, you name the nation from last more than 100 years, whichever country in the planet has become or has continued as a developed economy in the world at any of the parts of the world have focused upon intellectual property. If you want that you grow as an academic institution, if we want that we grow as a nation, then we have no choice but to develop our intellectual properties. Please understand the level of exigency, the level of importance which the IP has in the world of, in the world of knowledge. As we say that this age is of knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. You see, neo-colonialism is the same. That if you have the data, data is the new oil. What is data? How is data collected? Data is collected with the help of technology. And technology is a part of patents, and patents is a part of IP. And IP is, if it is taught in academic institutions, do we not contribute in the protection of IP? Are we not bringing reputation for our own institutions? Yes, it does. Let's do it then. And if you are an institution, right, it will help you in bringing the accreditation and rankings to you, NIRF rankings, or when we are going for NAT accreditation, we will see that they are recognizing that yes, we have patents, yes, we have copyright filings. All those who are associated with the university, the host university for long, you may remember that when you were filing for the papers for your NAT accreditation, they all must have asked that yes, have you done any patent protection? They ask that data from the universities. Do you have any patents in your favors? They ask that data. So it works in your favor when you are applying for rankings, for NAC rankings or accreditations or NIRF rankings. It will work in your favor. It is a matter of pride for the university to hold. It's like having a gold medal, or it's like having a medal of honor, which the universities can possess in their own favor. Naturally, we should understand that these are useful to me as an academic institution. It's not just, some people who are big time thinkers or philosophers, they will do research. In India, this is the bent of mind. That, okay, this person gives a lot of gyan. We demean the persons who have philosophical outlook. No, because those philosophical outlooks are giving the new perspectives, are giving the new products or processes which are useful to the public at large. Therefore, we need to appreciate that yes, how is this going to be useful to us, right? And this makes the university a center of research, a center for research, that people will come to you. For example, if you look at the Indian Law Institute, New Delhi, it's the research driven center. People don't go there just for studying. People also come to Indian Law Institute for doing research. Any person who wants to do the masters in India would definitely like to think about Indian Law Institute as a place from where they can do their masters. Indian Law Institute. Why? Because it's the research think center of the think tank of the country. That's what. That's what changes the very existential identity of a university. People will see you differently. That yes, this is not just the place of study. This is actually the place for research. Come, let us go and do the research. So people will come to you with that particular request, with that particular orientation that yes, we want to do research. You have the facilities, you have the infrastructure, you support people who do research. So please allow us to come with you on board. So it will bring university into limelight. That yes, that how university is looking at the IPR. So you should take full advantage into such a situation. And naturally, if you are with the bent of mind of promoting the research, you will find that investments are coming to your organization. I'm talking about, when I say organization, I mean central universities, state universities, private universities, etc. All of them. Money will automatically come. Money is not the problem. People do not have the ones who can work and solve the problems. There's no dearth of money. People are looking for solutions. If you are able to offer solutions to the people, people are ready to give money to you. Uh, Can you imagine? I'll just give a small example here. Can you imagine that any time in the world a machine will come which can, which can bake the flour for you and make a chapati out of the flour, so that you can just keep it inside the inside the oven, and after it gets heated up, you can eat. Was it ever thought that such innovation will come up? But people actually made that innovation, and it has reduced so much of effort of the humans. People are buying it, and these machines are not developed just for individual consumers. They are developed for mass productions also. There are now packets which are sold out in the market, which has unbaked chapatis. So you just bring that packet of unbaked chapatis, put inside the oven, heat it up, and start eating. That's all. The life has been made so simple by the help of technology. So will the people not invest? People are investing. We all have invested into ovens. We all have invested into chapati baking, machines. We all have invested into flour grinders. I'm just picking up regular examples to highlight that how people will, give investments. People will give charities and funds to the universities if they look onto the real problem of the world. If they address their issues on a real time basis, people will like to come to you. Who doesn't want a solution of their problems? So then why not to take up the opportunity as an academic institution? Okay, fine, we can continue with the traditional way of functioning as a university, you know. But if there is an opportunity outside the gate, if there is a different way of looking at the same thing which brings benefits to us also, then let us jump onto this particular aspect as well. If I can run with the double speed, why should I not run as an academic institution? I should focus upon that. And when funds come, I can use it. If something is left for me, I can use it when I need those particular funds as an institution. It's easy for me to survive in tough times. So it is financially also, wise that I allow the research in my institution as an academia. I should allow. I should promote, because that will ensure a long-term survival of my institution. I don't need to then fight for it. Otherwise, we will constantly be in the firefighting mode. We will see that how will I survive? How will I survive? How will I survive? But if I have the intellectual property as my backing, it will be very easy for me to survive. I will give you an example of IBM itself. Now, IBM came to a point wherein they were not able to raise their revenues beyond a particular point, right? And their major worry was that how to make this revenue grow, what to do. They had a lot of, patents with themselves. They had a lot of patents, correct? So it was suggested that why don't you lease out or license out your patents which you have? They are lying with you. You are not using your intellectual property. You won't believe, my dear participants, you won't believe this. As soon as the IBM was able to lease out or license out their intellectual property, their income went just the double. They went viral with their financial growth. This is what the intellectual property can do. I'm telling you, their revenues went double. And they absolutely were not able to realize or tap on to the potential of intellectual properties. This is what can be done for the universities as well. If they are developing intellectual property, there can be a very strong licensing system in place which works in the interest of both the consumers and the universities in a group, right? And the other advantage of such, research is that it promotes the research orientation for students. See, please understand, don't give the life like a cake to the students that you just learn it up, vomit it out, and get good marks and go out in the market. No, make them think. If your institutional structure is one wherein the student is forced to think, has no choice but to think, then naturally they will be, as the former president APJ Abdul Kalam used to say, ignited minds. If you are able to keep the minds ignited, if you are able to keep the minds thinking slash tickling, then naturally they will be looking for solutions. They will have to look for solutions. They will have to look for research. There's no choice. Karna padega. Because they will understand that there is no choice to research. Once it goes into their heads, they will do the research. For example, nowadays we say to our scholars, be it the PG or the PhD scholars, we say that no, you cannot have more than 10% of plagiarism in your work. So they have understood there is no choice. We will have to do the research, and we will have to do the paraphrasing, or we will have to ensure that the copy paste doesn't exceed 10%. There is no choice. They have to do it. So they work very hard. They may not make it, they may not make the original text, but they have to work then so much that they have to convert it into a genuine work. So naturally, then they will see, Array, if I have to do so much of work to convert the copy paste work into genuine work, then it is better that I do the genuine work. Similarly, if the students have this understanding that my institution focuses upon, it supports, it promotes, it protects, it gives the dues to the researchers, then naturally your students will also will have that orientation for themselves. So it is our responsibility as an academic institution to ensure that yes, we have such kind of systems in place. See, please understand, the role of a university is very, very big. Universities are not meant just for politics or making the students to enter the national or state politics. That is also fine. But there are people of all the minds, right? So naturally, we want that people with the bent of research should also be there with us. People who are thinkers, who are creative in their expressions, who can come out with something very beautiful in which can be applied onto a good, who can give protection to the local work, local folklore. We have to tap on to the potential of every student which we have in the university, right? If we as a faculty fail to tap on to the potential of our students, then it is our failure as a system as a whole. Then that means we are not able to take the full advantage of our capacities. So it is recommended that we as an institution should have that kind of orientation for ourselves. I would like to thank all of you for patiently listening to me. I assume I was being heard. So if there are any queries or questions, I am open to that. Thank you from my side. Dr. Manzoor, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I am open to any questions. I don't see anything in the chat box. If there are
Sir,
any,
uh, yes, sir. Actually, this is the right in the hand of the organizers that they can see only the participants. We are also not able to see the participants.
oh, okay, fair enough. So I assume there are no questions. So we
Maybe,
end.
sir, there may be one or two questions. Sir, there is a question which been raised by Hisham Israr.
I'm seeing that. Yes, there are institutions, my dear Hisham, wherein we see that they have integrated the IPR. What they did is, I will not name the institution because that is the breach of privilege. So there is an institution which it is in the state of Rajasthan, which what they have done is that one of the professors was able to come out with the technology which was a very strong cleansing agent. So the professor was able to get the patents over the same. So what they did was they went out for the commercial licensing of that patent, and the division of royalty was done between the faculty and the university, and a major chunk of that royalty was actually given to the faculty, because they recognize the hard work of the persons who are involved. So yes, there are institutions who integrate IPR so that they can be effectively functioning. And naturally, it brought reputation both to the institution and to the faculty concerned, because everybody sees that if this person has been able to do inside this institution, that means the institution also has an atmosphere like that, no? And if the person has done it, that means the person also has the potential to do such a thing. Now, then only you can do. To come out with something as a contribution, you should also have some gray matter. No, if you have come out, that means you also have some potential. And if you could do while working, that means the institution also has this system. So it works for both of them. Yes, there are institutions who integrate IPR so that they can function more strongly. There are institutions. I can't take names. That's against the privilege. I hope I have answered your question, Hisam. Okay. Any other question which I have?
I think there is no more questions, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Now this is the time to conclude the session. So I would like to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to Dr. Prateek Deol sir for his insightful session on IPR and reputation enhancement of academic institutions. Sir, your expertise has greatly deepened our understanding of the importance of intellectual property in academia. Thank you, sir, for your valuable contribution. We look forward to applying these insights in our daily life. And thanks to all the attendees for your active participation. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Manzoor and Integral University, for giving me this opportunity. Would love to assist.